From as far back as most of us can remember, British culture has been defined by its youth tribes. From mods to skins, suede heads to punks, soul boys, ravers, grungers, garage heads and emo kids. The UK has been a breeding ground for young people trying to look different from the rest. These youth cults, born and bred on the streets of Britain, and often taken onto a world stage, have come about through a journey of innovation, of experimentation, bravery, fear, love, and occasionally violence. We're going to tell the story of that journey, of how through clothes and music, ordinary kids from Camden, Birmingham and Barry helped Britain change the fashion habits of entire generations and develop the UK into the cradle of youth culture it is today.
At least 8 police and 10 concertgoers sustained minor injuries when Guns N' Roses frontman Axl Rose abruptly ended his band's set with some ominous comments about the band's future. Some 2,000 disgruntled concertgoers began to set fires, break into souvenir stands, and overturn cars.
In the beginning of the 1990s, 2 events occurred that would remold the future of rock music forever. Guns N' Roses, arguably the biggest band on the planet, played at Montreal's Olympic Stadium. A riot erupted, causing $1 million worth of damage. Guns N' Roses might have still been selling out stadiums, but the tide on the street was changing. People were disillusioned with the corporate chaos that the world's rock bands had descended into.
I think we should destroy the bogus capitalist process that is destroying youth culture.
In 1991, Reading Festival played host to a thrashy 3-piece from Seattle, who would light the touch paper for a new kind of alternative existence.
This is me and a couple of pals and my brother at Reading Festival 91. We were bored of the whole Stone Roses thing, and the whole baggy thing was getting boring for us. I was always into guitar music, and seeing Nirvana 91 was just mind-blowing. Kurt came on in his brown leather jacket with his Sounds t-shirt on and just proceeded to absolutely smash the stage up. That was it. It's just blown our mind. With the demise of sort of, Thatcher stopping everyone raving, people were looking for something else. We were thinking, let's go and see a band instead. With Nirvana, with Mudhoney and all those bands, they had that anti-establishment, 2 fingers up. That was what we drawn to, the kind of uncertainty of it all and the power of it, really. And we didn't want any of that poodle perm rock, Guns N' Roses wasn't our thing. We wanted, someone to smash a guitar up.
I was lucky enough to catch the 90s music scene, which is probably the best era for guitar music. I was still in Japan, and bands like Nirvana came out. It was hard to comprehend what they're about at first. They make great noise, they look cool, they're not doing anything in a formula. I came to London and I went to see loads of gigs. It was really lucky for me to experience that. It was raw, really rebellious. I quite like that attitude. It's completely different to Japan. I was feeling extremely cool being there.
These new bands didn't have a look you could hang on a peg. Their style was the sum of many parts told through an Americana vista, a thrift store uniform for the Bush senior generation. Soon this look found a name as Kurt Cobain sent kids from across the country to the local HMVs and Oxfams in search of Gram Parsons albums and baby doll dresses.
We were into style and into fashion, but it was always the music. We just used to study covers and study bands and look how they were dressing. We were buying everything they were wearing. It's a very Midwest truck style, truck jackets, camouflage hats, plaid shirt. It was all band related. It wasn't fashion related. It was all from looking at our heroes. And this was all before the kind of fashion industry kind of really got onto it. To us, we didn't really term it as grunge. We were into punk rock. No one had really termed it grunge until, I suppose, a fashion magazine got hold of it, really.
Jackie Joyner Kersey.
Where were you when you got your first period?
I was in English class.
The dishevelled style of bands like Nirvana didn't just impact the kids on the street. This was the last generation to predate the internet, and young people's style, music, politics and drugs were discussed on the pages of magazines like i-D. It had been a decade since the title had started life as a photocopied zine on the floor of a flat in West Hampstead. And as the 90s dawned, it was at the forefront of informing new aesthetics.
There wasn't that much interest in fashion, to be honest. It was a massive interest in film and photography. We were looking at people like Larry Clark, Richard Avedon, Danny Lyons, all American photographers, basically. My dilemma was, I felt a bit like a charlatan. I'm not describing anything that I really know about. I'm describing something that seduced me from Midwest America. I was chatting about this book, The Ballad of Sexual Dependence, with Nan Goldin. I was a massive fan because, there were images of Americana which had totally seduced me, but again said nothing about my life. She was like, well, I'm a massive Anglophile. And I kind of thought, do you know what? It's the same. It doesn't matter whether it's in like Nishnally in Osaka or Pennsylvania or Basingstoke. You get the same kind of people that go through the same kind of problems with adolescence and growing up. And it's not that different, really. I didn't feel like a charlatan. I didn't feel like I was pretending to be someone. I could do that, and it doesn't have to be all this Paris, Milan, It can be Basingstoke, Reading, Tyne and Weir. I was shooting something for i-D. Nick Knight was a picture editor then. Nick would be looking at pictures and something like that would fall out. And he'd go, oh, what's that? Next thing you knew, he commissioned us. And that was like early 1990s, so maybe January. And by March, we commissioned the first story, which was this. Just taking pictures of people we met, not really changing the way they looked. People weren't hiding behind anything. It was warts and all. People loved it. We weren't trying to make a statement. It was just how we thought things should be. We didn't expect people to pick up on it, and they did pretty quickly. It then became that awful term heroin chic and grunge, which is not very accurate for a start, because I didn't know anyone taking heroin. But people love to label things.
When I started looking at fashion photography, I wasn't interested in Vogue. I was only interested in stuff that was coming from i-D in the Face, because I noticed that there was some really great photographers coming through, Jürgen Teller, Corinne Day and David Sims. What they were doing was so special because it was them, it was their kind of lifestyle they were representing. It was like anti-establishment fashion photography. Traditionally, it had been about sort of fantasy, things that are out of your grasp. Photo shoots of very, very perfect women in Monte Carlo with lots of makeup on and big hairdos. But when I saw this stuff, it was like, yeah, this is what real kids do. These people weren't doing fashion shoots because they were interested in designer labels. These people were doing fashion shoots because it was a platform for them to show their idea of what the world should look like. And the fashion was just an element of, right, if we use some designer labels and throw it in there and try and hide it, then we'll have a platform to show our lifestyles. That kind of made me feel very excited about the idea of fashion.
A little on the raw side, I have to say. Some of these people don't seem to live properly.
Fashion editorials had been an unrealistic and unobtainable desire for the majority throughout the 1980s. But as the 90s dawned, a British art director called Phil Bicker commissioned an ex-model called Corinne Day to create some autobiographical pictures for The Face magazine, depicting her own relaxed, carefree, hedonistic experiences.
The photographer, the photographs were always about him, not the subject, and I reversed it.
The results featured a young model called Kate Moss in a playful mood. The pictures opened the floodgates for fashion magazines to discuss a personal dialogue that spoke defiantly about their readership's own experiences.
I think, yeah, she found ordinary beautiful, and you could shoot a girl for an hour and I guarantee you the minute she went like that or got bored, that would be the picture without a doubt. Like, for instance, the first shoot Corinne and I ever did with Georgina, I gave her a Tampax with a blue string. We just thought it was funny. We just got a kick out of it, to be honest. It's stuff you see every day, but it's just stuff no one documented. That is Corinne's iconic so far. Corinne watching Oasis, cigarettes and alcohol. Yeah, we styled it together.
In 1992, Vogue published a shoot by Corinne Day featuring Kate Moss. But the fashion establishment were not ready to be usurped. People claimed it was glamorizing drug abuse, and Vogue lost some of their long-standing subscriptions, but gained a new generation of readers.
It was fantasy, it was glamour, it was bright and colourful, and it was just fake. And I just think, as a reaction to just being like, this is bullshit, this doesn't exist, she'd do the opposite. It was just a really free time, do you know what I mean? Like, I was looking in a couple of the ray guns, and I'm like, there's actually no fashion in it, it's our stuff. I found that t-shirt on the floor on a traveller site I used to live on. We just put it together and we'd be like, okay, we'll credit so-and-so because we'd really like to do that jeans campaign. There was just a different kind of freedom. There wasn't sort of the advertising. There was nothing like that.
We could feel that there was change in the air.
This is acid, man.
I was just like, yes. Because it was everything I loved. Dancing, beautiful women everywhere, drugs.